안녕하세요. 존청입니다. 트럼프 대통령이 대선 이후에 처음으로 방송사와의 1대1 인터뷰를 가졌습니다. 팍스뉴스와 지난 일요일 날 가진 인터뷰이고요. 그동안 공식 석상에서 발언을 최소화하고 그리고 특히 이 기자들과 1대1 질의응답을 하지 않아 왔기 때문에 이번 인터뷰는 많은 주목을 받았습니다. 주로 이 선거 결과에 대해 대통령 본인 그리고 백악관에서 진행하고 있는 여러 가지 문제 제기들이 있죠. 법적인 문제 제기들에 대해 어떻게 계획하고 있고 어떻게 전개되고 있는지에 대한 어떤 구체적인 논의였습니다. 대략 한 50분 정도 되는 긴 인터뷰였었고요. 그 내용 중에 주요 쟁점 사안들에 대한 것들 저희가 정리해서 보여드리려고 합니다. 전체 선거 과정에 있어서 어떤 문제가 있었는지에 대한 대통령 본인의 의견, 그리고 또 어떤 증거, 법적인 증거들을 현재 가지고 있는지, 그리고 전체 법적인 절차를 진행하는 데 있어서 타임라인을 어떻게 보고 있는지, 또 FBI나 법무부와 같은 정부기관으로부터 충분한 협조를 받고 있는지, 이게 최종적으로는 대법원까지 갈 것을 감안하고 있는지 등에 대한 부분들이었었고요. 관심 가진 분들께서는 이거 외에도 다른 내용들 50분에 걸쳐서 많이 있으니까 다 살펴보시면 그것도 좋을 것 같습니다. 제가 이제 스티뮬러스 관련 시사 뉴스를 전달하면서 몇몇 이 시청하시는 분들께는 저희가 전달해드린 이 대선 관련 뉴스가 말하자면 제가 전혀 의도하지 않은 방향으로 해석되는 경우가 있는 것 같습니다. 민감한 사안이다 보니까 그렇게 보여지는 게 있을 수 있겠다 싶고요. 다만 저로서는 안타깝게 생각하고요. 모쪼록 불편하게 생각하지 않으셨으면 좋겠습니다. 왜냐하면 제가 의도하고 저희 채널이 지향하는 방향은 정치적으로 누가 대통령, 정부의 그 대통령으로서 당선이 되건 그거와 상관없이 그 정부가 지향하는 정치, 경제, 환경 하에서 우리가 누릴 수 있는 또는 알아두면 좋을 시사, 투자, 경제, 법률 정보를 제공하는 데 있다는 것 다시 한번 말씀드립니다. 그럼 준비된 영상 보시고요. 저는 다음 시간에 찾아뵙겠습니다. 구독, 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 고맙습니다.
Mr. President, you've said many times that this election was rigged, that there was much fraud, and the facts are on your side. Let's start there. Please go through the facts. Characterize what took place.
Well, first of all, I have to start by saying the whole world is watching, and nobody can believe what they're saying. And you have leaders of countries that call me and say, that's the most messed up election we've ever seen. You start with these machines that have been suspect, not allowed to be used in Texas, the Dominion machines, where tremendous reports have been put out. We have affidavits from many people talking about what went on with machines. They had glitches. You know what a glitch is? A glitch is supposed to be when a machine breaks down. Well, no, we had glitches where they moved thousands of votes from my account to Biden's account, and these are glitches. So they're not glitches, they're theft. They're fraud, absolute fraud. And there were many of them, but obviously most of them, tremendous amounts, got by without us catching. We got lucky to catch them. I think we caught 4 or 5 glitches of about 5,000 votes each, and different states. And again, they're not glitches. That was fraud, and they got caught. But for the most part, they got away with it. And what happened, if you watched the election, I was called by the biggest people, saying, congratulations, political people. Congratulations, sir, you just won the election. It was 10 o'clock, and you looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you felt that way. This election was over, and then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over. If you take a look at just about every state that we're talking about, every swing state that we're talking about. And they did these massive dumps of votes. And all of a sudden, I went from winning by a lot to losing by a little. And in some cases, it took a period of time to do it. North Carolina, they couldn't do it. I won North Carolina. They couldn't, somehow they had a better system, but they couldn't do anything. I believe they tried. We have affidavits, but they couldn't do anything with really a great place, North Carolina. We appreciate the incredible work they put in, and we won. But they did tens of thousands of Biden votes. And all of a sudden, I went from, and I could tell you the people that were calling me, congratulating me, people that you know very well, friends of your show, they said it's over. I said, well, I hear bad things about the machines. I hear bad things about corruption. One of your great pollsters who actually got it right, you know the gentleman I'm talking about, he said, well, Trump is going to win Pennsylvania, but you have to allow at least 5% for cheating because they cheat.
Right.
And that's in Philadelphia and various areas around Philadelphia. They cheat, and they cheat like crazy. So we have him winning Pennsylvania, but you have to allow 5 points for cheating. This is a terrible thing that's happened. The mail-in ballots are a disaster. They sent millions and millions and millions of mail-in ballots. I'm sure you know people that got 2, 3, or 4, because I do, where they said, you know, we got 4 ballots. They got one at a country home. Dead people were seeing ballots. But even worse, dead people were applying to get a ballot. They were making application to get ballots. Many. And, you know, we're not talking about 10 people. We're talking, there are a lot of dead people that so-called voted in this election. But dead people were, in some cases, in many, many cases, thousands of cases, voted. But also dead people made application to vote. They were dead 10 years, 15 years, and they actually made application. This is total fraud. And how the FBI and Department of Justice, I don't know, maybe they're involved, but how people are allowed to get away from this stuff with this stuff is unbelievable. This election was rigged. This election was a total fraud, and it continues to be as they hide. And the problem we have, we go to judges, and people don't want to get involved. The media doesn't even want to cover it. I mean, you're doing something. You're actually very brave because you're doing something. The media doesn't want to talk about it. They know how fraudulent this is. It's no different than Hunter. It's no different than Hunter. They don't want to talk about Hunter. So they totally closed it off, big tech and the media, other than the New York Post, as you remember, which took a lot of heat. It was terminated. It was terminated from, I guess, Twitter, maybe Facebook. But it's a situation the likes of which we don't have freedom of the press in this country. We have suppression by the press. They suppress. You know, you can't have a scandal if nobody reports about it. This is the greatest fraud in the history of our country from an electoral standpoint. And I guess you could build it up bigger than an electoral. What's bigger from an electoral standpoint? What's bigger than this? This is the essence of our country. This is the whole ball game, and they cheated. Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes. Now we were planning. I got 63 million votes 4 years ago and won quite handily in the electoral college. Won quite handily. We did very well. I got 63. We were hoping to get 68 or so, and we felt that was a path to an easy victory. I got 74 million votes. The largest in the history of a sitting president. So much more, many millions of more than anyone thought, you know, than we were even trying to get. And everybody said, this is over. I'm telling you, at 10 o'clock, everybody thought it was over. And then the phony mail-ins started coming in, Maria. But just so you understand, I got 74 million votes. It was over. And then mail-ins started happening, glitches started happening. This election was rigged. This election is a total fraud.
The 6 states that your team is challenging, what specific strategy does your legal team take going forward? Let's start with Pennsylvania. I know you said that you have a pile of affidavits. That's part of the evidence. What other evidence can you talk about that will enable you to prove this in court in the coming weeks, sir?
Well, we're trying to put the evidence in, and the judges won't allow us to do it. We are trying. We have so much evidence. You probably saw on Wednesday of last week, we had a hearing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was an incredible hearing, unbelievable witnesses, highly respected people that were truly aggrieved. A woman came in, and she wanted to vote, and they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote. You've already voted. Your ballot's in. She said, no, I want to vote on November 3rd. I've been waiting for so long to vote. I'm so proud. I want to vote. They said, your ballot's in. I'm sorry. And that was the story. And she was aggrieved. And you have many people like that, many, many people like that. at a level that nobody would even believe. And that's where it is, Maria. That's one story. By the way, that's one story out of so many different stories. The poll watchers, and this is true with all of the states just about that you're talking about. I think all of them, they weren't allowed to have poll watchers. The Democrats and thugs. Now, I'm not talking about saying, could you please move over? They threw them out of the counting rooms. They weren't allowed to be in. They threw them outside in many cases. You heard the story with the people they went out and sent for binoculars because they wouldn't allow them to watch. And during that period of time, a lot of bad things happened. Then they closed, as you know, they closed up the voting. And then unexpectedly, they closed up all of the counting. Unexpectedly, new ballots came in. And it was all new numbers being added. We have pictures and we have evidence of new ballots being brought into counting rooms. Maria, there's never been anything like this in history. And it all started with the mail-in, but it also goes to Dominion. It goes to a lot of things. But the mail-in, millions and millions of ballots being shipped all over. And ballots, as you know, there were a lot of ballots where it was just Biden on top. They didn't do anything else because they were in a rush. And from what everybody is saying, and from what I don't think we even have to prove this, they say that I was doing so much better than they thought that they panicked and they started just doing ballot after ballot very quickly and just checking the Biden name on top. They didn't have time. So you have all these ballots with just one name check. People don't vote that way. People don't vote that way. They want to vote against taxes and they want to vote for judges and they want to vote for a lot of other things that you have on a ballot, different races, including Congress. And they were just checked up top. Tremendous numbers of ballots like that. And that was done for the sake of speed. We have stories that are unbelievable, but we're not allowed to put in our proof. They say you don't have standing. I said I'd like to file to the lawyers. I would like to file one nice, big, beautiful lawsuit talking about this and many other things with tremendous proof. We have affidavits. We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, like the people that you saw the other day in Pennsylvania, are willing to sign under penalty of perjury, you go to jail.
If you take out the contested swing states electoral votes, you're back down to President Trump having 232 electoral votes and Joe Biden having 227. That is if you strip out the 6 states with the legal challenges. So is the thinking here that because of the various ballot issues that the Supreme Court will rule that the vote is tainted? And that will mean that they have to take votes away from Biden and not certify? Is that the thinking? And secondly, what's your timing on this, Mr. President? Because we've got some notable election dates here that I want to ask you what you believe you consider to be your drop-dead date in terms of proving this case. Is it December 18th when the states finalize elector appointments or when electors cast votes in each state? Is it the vice president receiving electoral votes? Is it the House and Senate counting electoral votes? Or is it Inauguration Day, January 20th? How do you see it?
Well, I don't want to give you an actual date. A lot of people say the 18th or they say the 14th or they say January 20th. I'm not going to say a date, but I will say we have to move very fast. We have been moving fast. And, look, when you say, is it tainted? Everyone knows it's tainted. Everyone knows that the poll watchers were thrown out of buildings. Everyone knows that people were not allowed to vote when they walked in so preciously, so beautifully to vote. A elderly woman, we have her deposition, was told, who longed to vote, looked forward to the day of November 3rd, was told when she got in there, I'm sorry you voted. And then they give her another ballot to sign, which they don't use because she already voted. That's how brazen they are. They'll actually vote people knowing that there's a good chance that those people will come in. And there were thousands of those people. And by the way, just to set the record straight, because a couple of these cases were dismissed because they didn't have enough votes, enough bad, tainted votes so that you'd overturn the state. No. In all cases, we have many times, I don't even know where the judges would have gotten that information. We have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of votes more than we need. In other words, if I lost a state by 9,000 votes, or if I lost Georgia by, let's say, 12,000 votes, we have tens of thousands more votes in it. We don't have it where we found 9 dead people, and therefore we want you to turn over the state and give us those electoral votes. In all cases, and yet judges are, one judge was saying, we didn't have the votes to turn it over. Therefore, it's meaningless. In other words, if you don't have the votes, I understand that. If you had far fewer votes than the amount. Now, in one way, you could also say it's so fraudulent when they make up, when they're voting for dead people, and when dead people are signing applications, meaning they're not, meaning somebody else is fraudulently signing. I mean, in the name of a dead person, well, that tells you a lot. But we actually have thousands of votes, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of votes, more than we need in every swing state that we're talking about.
Where is the DOJ and the FBI in all of this, Mr. President? You have laid out some serious charges here. Shouldn't this be something that the FBI is investigating? Are they?
Missing in action.
Is the DOJ investigating?
Missing in action. Can't tell you where they are. I ask, are they looking at it? Everyone says yes, they're looking at it. Look, where are they with Comey, McCabe, and all these other people? You know, I said I'll stay out of it. I wish I didn't make that statement. There's no reason really why I have to. But where are they with Comey, with McCabe, with Brennan, with all these people? They lied to Congress. They lied. They leaked. They spied in our campaign. I see Carter Page is bringing a lawsuit. That's good news. Where are they with all of this stuff? And, you know, what happened to Durham? Where's Durham? So, you know, you're asking me a question. These people have been there a long time. And I know FBI, and FBI is great at the levels that we talk about. But it's inconceivable. You would think if you're in the FBI or Department of Justice, this is the biggest thing you could be looking at. Where are they? I've not seen anything. I mean, they just keep moving along, and they go on to the next president. They've been there for a long time. People don't understand this. They've been there for a long time. Some of them have served a lot of different presidents, and they have their own views. All I can say is I haven't heard, with all of the fraud that's taken place, nobody's come to me and said, oh, the FBI's nabbed, you know, the people that are doing this scheme. The FBI is looking at Dominion, which nobody even knows where they're based, which nobody even knows where the votes are counted. You know, the votes in Dominion, they say, are counted in foreign countries, okay? Can you believe this? Now, Dominion is also based in a number of foreign countries. One of them is Canada. And Canada refuses to use Dominion, and they're based there. They won't get anywhere near. Texas will not get anywhere near Dominion. I spoke with the Attorney General. I spoke with a lot of different people. Texas, you should see the reports that Texas wrote on Dominion. They wouldn't use them. They wouldn't, under any circumstance, they wouldn't use them. So, you know, they, as you probably have heard, but Canada does paper votes. And the only way this is going to be safe is paper votes. Even the mailmen, look, the mailmen are carrying thousands of ballots back and forth, back and forth. There are many mailmen that are in big trouble right now for selling ballots, getting rid of ballots. This is the craziest thing you've ever seen. But many ballots with the name Trump on were thrown out. You've read that. They found ballots in a river with the name Trump on from the military. They were signed, and they were floating in a river. They found ballots under rocks that had the name Trump on. They were signed. They were signed with Trump. We won the election easily. There's no way Joe Biden got 80 million votes. I just said there's no way Joe Biden beat Barack Obama in the black communities of various cities, and then he did very badly compared to Obama in other cities throughout the United States. There's no way it happened. This election was a fraud. It was a rigged election.
Confirm that your cases will reach the Supreme Court in the next 2 weeks. Confirm that for us. And also, what do you want to say to people like business people, like, for example, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, who said, it's time to move on and unify and accept the results. Or Stephen Schwarzman, who's a supporter of you, who said, soon we will have to move on. And what about the ramifications of the Supreme Court agreeing with you? Are you worried that we could see riots? And, you know, when you have people who don't agree with you, they think it's just fine to throw bricks through your window and force small businesses to board up. Are you worried about unrest and rioting should the Supreme Court agree with you?
So the people that we have and the people that are so committed to this, like I've never seen, I think almost they have more spirit now than they do even before the election. All of the people, these are not rioting types, but they are stronger, they are smarter, they are more successful. Antifa is bad news. Nobody wants to do anything with Antifa except me. If I wasn't here, Antifa would be running this country right now. They'd be running the country. They always like to blame the radical right. It's not the radical right. It's the radical left, and it's largely Antifa and groups like this, and nobody wants to even talk about them. Nobody wants to talk about what they're doing in Portland and what they're doing in Chicago and what they're doing in New York. And they club people over the heads when nobody's looking, and then nobody talks about it. It's a disgrace. It's absolutely a disgrace. And if I'm not here, I'm sort of your wall. You know, we're completing the wall like I said I would. Everyone said you'd never be able to do it. That's another one I got built, and it's had a huge impact. We have the best numbers we've ever had on the southern border. People come in, but they come in legally. But the wall is almost complete. And to be honest, we look and we see all of the different problems. MS-13, we take care of it. We bring thousands of MS-13 back to where they came from. We don't want them here. We bring them back. But Antifa is a real problem in this country, and nobody wants to take them on. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful.
Which cases specifically will reach the Supreme Court and when?
Well, the problem is it's hard to get into the Supreme Court. I've got the best Supreme Court advocates, lawyers, that want to argue the case if it gets there. But they said it's very hard to get a case up there. Can you imagine Donald Trump, President of the United States, files a case, and I probably can't get a case, even with, and we have tremendous proof. We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, sworn affidavits, and it's very hard to get a case to the Supreme Court. That's what everybody's fighting for. I thought that Mike Kelly, congressman, I thought they had a great case, and it got thrown out the other day. Now they'll appeal it, I hope, to the Supreme Court. They have a great case because the legislature didn't make the decision on this stuff, and they have a great case. But you have to appeal it. The big thing is, can you get it? We could have a great case. We do have a great case. We have the greatest case ever. We have many different forms of fraud. It's not just one form. It's ballot fraud. We have it all documented, and we have tremendous evidence. So we'll say, we want to show you the evidence, and then the judge will say, they didn't show us the evidence. That's what we want to do. We want to have hearings to show the evidence. The time people started seeing evidence was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, when people started showing it. You probably saw that. Great people came forward with affidavits, signed affidavits. We have hundreds of people like that, hundreds and hundreds. They make it like we don't have evidence. We have evidence all over the place. And by the way, you asked about the machine dominion. Yeah, I hope so, for the good of the country. It will take a brave judge or a brave legislature. You know, where Rudy Giuliani, you know, he takes a lot of heat. Let me tell you, that guy he has guts, because we've had lawyers that were afraid to go forward because they were threatened, viciously threatened. We have lawyers, Maria, good lawyers, that had to leave the case in the middle because they were threatened, absolutely threatened, both psychologically and otherwise. And they left the case. Numerous firms, good firms, doing a good job, and all of a sudden we end up having to scramble to get a case ready. What's going on is nobody's ever seen anything like this. It will take a brave judge or justice, or both,